Thank you. All right, hi everyone. I'm Arnaud. Johannes will join me, I guess, in a couple of minutes, hopefully. Today, I'll chat about Streamlit. Johannes is a product manager for Streamlit. He will walk you through the latest features, latest releases we've had, and I will walk you through how you can push those things into production-grade apps. But first, I wanted to ask you guys if you know about Streamlit. So please raise your hand if you have not used Streamlit. Okay, interesting. So I think like a third of the room did not use Streamlit yet. So the first part is going to be relevant. So what Streamlit is a Python web framework where you can easily deploy, create data apps. So you just have your Python script, it translates into nice components for a web application. And so if you've ever used it, you'll focus on things like the app structure, some layout, some design. You can have some widgets. You can have charts and tables. There's a bunch of things that Streamlit offers you. And usually the first feedback you'll get from your stakeholders once you show them your app is going to be, wow, hey, did you build all of that yourself? And so as a data scientist, usually those are the personas that create Streamlit apps. Data scientists are like super excited because they are like, yeah, this is just me. Because you don't have to handle like front end, back end. It's just Python script. It's really similar to how you would do an actual exploratory data analysis, or it's just really plain Python. And so that's how Streamlit actually started. I think it was in 2019, and I even found a slide. The very first launch of Streamlit was at PyData in Los Angeles. And so 6 years later, and actually even then 12 months later, you could expect people starting to ask more things from Streamlit. So, hey, can your app support like 500 users? This is a bit slow. How can you make this faster? How do I make this look more like my enterprise, colors theme? And a bunch of questions we've had very quickly. And so we thought 6 years later, actually, it would be great to give you some updates of things we've launched and how you can also use Streamlit for like very production-grade apps now. And because, when you get those questions, you're like, hey, I need help. I need more help. So we have help. We can provide more help. So the new features for powerful apps will be presented by my colleague, Johannes, who's coming soon. And I'll start with the other part, which is, so expectedly, imagine that you've been super impressed with the features that Johannes has shown you. And so I'm telling you, you should totally push them to your production apps, right? This is the moment in the deck where I'm telling you, you want to push this to your enterprise apps and production-grade apps. Before I do so, I just want to say, Streamlit is very known for being a prototyping tool, and people say it's very good at prototyping. And that is absolutely true, but it's not just that. And so I want to tell you more about this, and I want to tell you the story of how we inside of Snowflake have adopted Streamlit, because Streamlit is part of Snowflake since 2022. And I want to tell you more about that, and I want to share some tips for how you can make these apps production grade. So the story is, so I'm in the data team at Snowflake, and we initially just made a repository that was made for our team, so like 20 people, to build apps. But it turns out the way we've structured it made it really capable of deploying many apps for many teams. And now 2 years later, we've had more than 500 internal apps deployed in the company and 70 teams contributing to them. So it's really interesting, like we've really made this highway to production-grade Streamlit apps inside of Snowflake. So obviously we deploy apps inside of Snowflake. And it's interesting, I've just asked Cursor to summarize from the repo what are the top use cases and who are the creators of these apps. And some of these things are pretty expected, like Streamlit is famous for doing BI or data apps, basically, visualizations. And LLM and chat apps as well are a pretty standard use case for Streamlit. But we've seen more and more things that were a bit beyond what we expected, where now software engineers and product managers start making very internal apps with self-serving tools or crude operations, just basically reading data from our warehouse, making some edits, saving back the data into the tables, a bunch of like internal tooling that's really useful. And so it's a very successful repository inside our org, and I wanted to share like some of the things we've set up that facilitate that if you ever wanted to use Streamlit for your enterprise. Yeah, the first thing, here's Johannes. Yeah. I started my part, yeah. And so the very first thing I think you want to do is make your app creators super happy. So the colleagues you want to onboard into making Streamlit apps, you've got to make them super excited. And a developer is usually super excited when they develop locally, because they can have, you know, all of their habits, all of their coding best practices from their code editor and everything. So we've put a strong emphasis on helping our team develop locally. We've set up a lot of templates, Streamlit templates for many use cases, chat apps, BI apps, stuff like that. We're sharing a lot of code across apps, things like connection to your data or visualization things. And we've also helped them test their apps. And I think the most important part is the deployment part. So we help them deploy preview apps. So whenever you're making a change to an app, you're just having like proper software development good practice. So you create a new branch, you'll do pull requests, you'll ask people to review your contributions, and you'll share this preview app where they can see the changes you've made. And when they approve your PR, if they do, then you'll merge your PR, and then this will trigger an action that deploys your prod app. So this is just like standard web developer good practice, but it's great that we have that for the Python and Streamlit community as well. And so there's this blog post that my colleague Zachary has made. It's really fine. It's walking you through all of those things we've made. It's obviously a bit biased towards a deployment into Snowflake, but I think those are pretty cloud agnostic things you can learn from. So that was tip number 1. And tip number 2 is, well, you know, viewers are also important. So you want to make them happy too. And 2 things I wanted to highlight here that we've also been talking about in some recent blog posts is your app might break, even though you've tested it, even though you made a pull request and everything. And when your app breaks, if you're familiar with Streamlit, you get this like red little thing. So if it happens locally, you're like, okay, cool, I can fix it. But if a viewer goes into that state, you're actually not aware. And so there are 2 different things that can happen. One is, well, they're just gonna DM you on Slack and tell you, hey, something broke, which is a bit aggressive, but I mean, you've got to deal with it. And the other thing is, they're just not care about it, and they'll just go somewhere else and forget about your app and think it's not reliable. And so that is a bit sad. So there's the 3rd option actually, which is, can you overwrite whatever happens when there's an exception? And that you can do in Streamlit. You can say, whenever there's an exception that's raised, please do something. And useful things you can do are like logging the exceptions into a table. So you store whenever there's a problem. You can also notify your team on Slack. That's what I do for my team, which is really cool. And I mean, you can also launch background agents to start fixing the code. So that's really nice. There's a blog post telling you. It's honestly like 10 lines of code, so if you use Streamlit, you really want to use that. And another way to make viewers happy is to track what they care about. So one of the bad things of Streamlit is you get too excited and you start making too many things in your app. And I've been this way before. Like I maintain a big app for Snowflake, and it's like over 20 pages, something like that. And sometimes I'm just lost, and viewers are also lost. And so I added a bunch of analytics to just track whether people even visit some of these pages or some parts of those pages. And every quarter, I just look at those analytics, and I just get rid of things that people do not look at. And I also profile the things that people spend a lot of time on, so I can improve the performance. And this is also very easy. It's like 5 lines of code. It's usually just all the telemetry, standard packages that you can use. There's a blog post for that as well. And the last tip I want to give you is to use agents. So LLMs are very, very good at doing Streamlit code. The reason is Streamlit is pretty popular and it is really effective. So there's only a few files per app for Streamlit, and there's no front end or back end split. So as a result, the LLMs are super token effective. And it's also a framework that's less error prone because you don't have all of those interactions and all of those connections. And it's very popular. There's like more than 800,000 GitHub repositories that depend on Streamlit. So whenever foundational models, train, they use GitHub, and so they learn about Streamlit. So whichever, Copilot, Cloud Code, or Cursor thing you use, they're all going to be good at generating Streamlit apps. But you can also help them be even better. So what we do is tell them to use templates, and I also provide custom rules to my Cursor agent. If you can see this, this is one of the prompts I would typically give. I would tell it to create an app that uses some of my SQL in that other file, and I'll tell it to follow, my personal rules, general rules, and the latest documentation, because LLMs do not train, every week like foundational models. So you got to give them the latest information. And yeah, I give them very crucial things like please use emojis sparingly, prefer material icons, but all of those things that really make my apps look like I want, and also how my company wants them to look like, right? So it's really useful. Cursor picks them up very well. So I highly encourage you to try that. And this is actually a try. I just tried to add something to Johannes' app that he's going to show you. Adding a section to show off some fancy little things that Streamlit added recently. Those are the badges here, and those are the spark lines inside of STmetric. So that was just to show you, I just gave this prompt, and Cursor added this section very easily. So that was the part on the production grade apps, and I want to now give the mic to Johannes for the demo on latest features.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Sorry for being a little bit late. The Uber wait times here in Paris are long. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few features that you can use to build production level apps. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, the last 2-3 years. So first of all, I'm the product manager for the Streamlit open source team at Streamlit. And so a lot of the features we built over the last 2-3 years were really aimed at how can you build more complex, more production ready, more enterprise level apps. Because yeah, Streamlit has always been good at this quick prototyping, getting a dashboard up quickly, but there's been a lot of features missing to getting really to that production level stage. And yeah, I'm just gonna show you a few of those today. So the first one we shipped recently is advanced theming. So the idea here is really to make your Streamlit app look like your company's design system, which is often a requirement, especially at big enterprise companies, where there's a strong design team, and they're like, oh, we need everything to follow brand guidelines, or we want to embed this Streamlit app into another tool, and so it needs to look the way we want. You can already see, if you're familiar with Streamlit, this app uses a custom theme, which is this one. So the way you do this is just in your config file. You just define a few theming options, so you can set all kinds of colors, primary color, text color. You can do radii, defining the font weights, font sizes, etc., etc. So all kinds of different options. We have 47 theming options right now. Integrate with Google Fonts. You can separately configure the sidebar, and soon you can also set a custom light and dark theme. So a few example themes that I can just show quickly. So here's, for example, one for Airbnb, or inspired by the Airbnb website. So you can see it's all white. The sidebar is also white. It uses the font and all the correct header sizes and things, and also uses the the red from Airbnb. Can show this one real quick. Notion, if you're familiar with Notion, probably a lot of people here use it. This app looks exactly like Notion, so it has the same colors, same fonts. It even uses the same chart colors that Notion uses for their chart feature. So yeah, you can really make your app look like any theme that you want. And just last example, real quick, Spotify. This is probably one of my favorites. So yeah, uses all black, uses the very the Spotify font, and also has a bunch of things like, for example, buttons here around it because Spotify uses that, and yeah, a bunch of other modifications. And there are some more examples if you want to click through them. You can also go to this app, by the way. Cool. Next thing I wanted to show is flex layout. So again, another limitation of Streamlit that Streamlit used to have is layouts weren't really flexible. We used to have ST columns, but it wasn't really that powerful. So now we added to ST container, we added a bunch of parameters to turn this more into like a flexbox-like thing with some simplifications. So you can make containers horizontal, you can set the alignment, you can set a gap between them. And then for most elements, we are also currently adding width and height parameters. So you can set like a fixed width or make it stretch, etc. Few simple examples of what you can build with this. You can make a horizontal container and put some buttons in this. Very simple, but that's something that was always hard to do in Streamlit. You can do something like centered text now, finally. You can have elements right aligned and a gap between them if that's something you want to do. You can distribute elements across the container. And here's a little bit more of a complex example that you can build now. So this is a dashboard with flex layout. A few things here. So for example, having these widgets on the right side and making them have a fixed width, that's something you weren't able to do. This thing here uses a lot of flex layout to make the items wrap nicely. And yeah, also here a few things like this, for example, having the widgets here on the right side and making this look nice. That's something that was always very hard to do in Streamlit, and now you can finally do it. Okay, flex layout, then data frames. So this is really more for having powerful data visualizations, which is obviously key for good Streamlit apps. Data frame has always been, ST data frame, one of our most used elements, has been in Streamlit from the beginning on. We made it much more powerful. You can now show images, you can show little sparkline charts, you can show these batches, bar charts, progress columns, you can show links and line checkboxes. Yeah, we have in total 17 different column types now that you can show here. You can also make this editable. And this is also nice because, for example, you can see this is formatted with a $sign. But if I edit it, then the $sign goes away. And I can just edit the number. Or this one turns into a little multi-select thing here when I edit, and so on. Yeah, and it also supports all kinds of pandas, polars, stars, a desk, all the important data frame libraries. We also have some UI features, which I'll skip over now because we don't have a lot of time. Next important feature that we shipped, I think, last year is selections for charts and data frames. So you can now, if you have a chart here, for example, this is a Plotly chart, you can enable selections, which allows you to click on a data point, and then that chart is going to return you down here which point was clicked on. You can do the same for a data frame, click on some rows here, and it's going to return you that. Or also click on columns or on individual cells, and same for map. And this allows you to build like much more complex interactions into your app. You can, for example, show details for data point. You can run an analysis on a subset of your data. You can cross-filter stuff. Yeah. Performance has also always been a huge pain point in Streamlit because the idea of Streamlit is it runs everything from top to bottom. What we added here last year is fragments. So a quick example for this. Here I have like a slow computation, so I'm generating some big matrices and multiplying them. So you can see this takes a few seconds to run. And the annoying thing now is if I have a very like small, fast computation in here as well. So okay, that should not happen. Okay, that's not good. Yeah, probably need to contact the cloud team. Okay, well, Yeah, no worries. We probably don't have enough time for it. Oh, you have a look at it? Perfect. Okay. Arnaud is prepared instead of me. That's okay. So yeah, if I have a small computation here, for example, this button to say hello, the annoying thing is that, okay, I need to make this a little bit bigger, that every time I click here, it's going to trigger a rerun of the app, and that's going to make things slow. Even though this is just a simple button that just prints out a little greeting. So what I can do now is wrap this in a fragment, which just means I move it into a function, put add_st fragment on top, and you can see that now. This is very quick because if I interact with this button, it's only going to rerun that fragment, that function here, and not everything else in the app. And authentication, we need to skip because that's not set up locally. But yeah, I'm just going to say you can also build in login with Google, GitHub, and all of these OAuth providers into your Streamlit app. And yeah, just secure them more nicely. Okay, that's for features. Just very quick call out at the end. We have some socks for all of you. We got a lot of them, so please take some for you, for your colleagues, your friends, whoever needs them. We also have stickers. And last call out, we have a sprint tomorrow here at the conference center to build custom components. If you want to join for that, you're very welcome. And we're also doing a little happy hour tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at Paname Brewing Company. It's like a 20-minute walk from here. You can also scan that QR code and just RSVP there. You can also come by if you don't, but it's better if you do. Yeah, just to chat with our team. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Johannes and Arnaud. So, do we have any question? Yep.
Thank you so much. It was a very nice talk. I was wondering about when you click edit that table, the changes that they are made by another person are registered someplace, so you can keep track of the changes that they have made?
Not automatically. So basically, the data frame will return the edited data, just like any other Streamlit widget. And then you can do with it whatever you want. Like you can store it to a database, for example. You can use that for some processing. Yeah, it's up to you. But we don't have currently a mechanism to like automatically sync that to a database, for example.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Yep. Okay. Tracking the topology of the room. Okay.
Hi there, thanks for the nice talk. I was intrigued by your point about developing with LLMs. I noticed myself that, especially with Cloud Code, it does this pattern with try except to like prevent errors from showing to the front-end user. What do you think of this pattern in Streamlit? Like showing an empty data frame if it's unable to fetch something. I think that can be very confusing, so just curious about the best practices there.
Do you mean exactly when you code with an agent for Streamlit? What's your problem? You run into exceptions and then you're stuck, or?
No, yeah, you just start like a Streamlit app. So you say like, okay, develop the Streamlit app for me, and you give it some requirements, and it's doing lots of try except. So
okay. I do not see that a lot, but I mean, what you can definitely do is have those custom rules, which I showed you. Like, whenever you see a pattern that you do not like, you can be very explicit about it in your either agents.md file, which all agents will read, or you can explicitly call out a specific cursor rules file or whatever tool you use, and you can just say do not use try except. I mean, this seems a bit simple as an answer, but it's just going to work. You just really be explicit about what you want it to do, and it's going to pick it up.
Yeah, so it's not a pattern you would recommend in Streamlit apps.
We want to be like an authority on good practice rules and everything, so we're thinking about releasing official rules and official things to help any agent do better at streamliting. So this is on the roadmap as well. So this might be easier for anyone soon, but short term you can just have your own rules that will work well.
Okay, great. Looking forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about authentication and authorization. So I've already built a Streamlit app that's now in production. It does authentication, But the next step would be to do authorization. So as more of a data scientist, I don't know much about it yet, so I still am exploring it. But do you have any suggestions how to do authorization with Streamlit?
So by authorization, you mean doing some actions on behalf of the user, like?
No, so it's actually quite simple. So I have like Keycloak, where we have like different user roles, and I need to check, is this person who just authenticated part of a certain team? Is it allowed to do this or not?
Yeah.
So yeah, we are speaking to a Keycloak instance.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what we do have with the built-in auth, I don't know if that works with Keycloak. I'm not an auth expert, as you can maybe guess. But what we do have with the built-in authentication is ST-user, which returns you basically all the stuff that the auth provider is returning to us. So it could be that in there you have like the information in which group and which roles the user has. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's usually, if you want to use the built-in auth, that's the way to do it. Like, for example, I know with login with Google, it, for example, returns you the email, and then you can say, oh, if the user has this email or is like in an admin group of emails, then you allow them to do certain actions in your app. But yeah, I don't know how it's for this specific case.
So yeah, I'm just exploring it. I've tried that with the email, that works, but now I would like to get more information out of this token, and but still exploring it. But
okay,
thanks.
Cool. We still have time for one very last quick question. There, okay. You, okay, sorry.
So you were acquired by Snowflake. What is the main benefit and disadvantage of that?
Can you say it again?
So what is the main pros and cons of being acquired by Snowflake?
That's a tricky question. It's probably a longer discussion later on. Very quick answer. I think we're still very independent and can of course, we talk to Snowflake customers, but it's not like someone is telling us, oh, you need to build this feature or this feature. Snowflake leadership has been very nice and very understanding of Streamlit and that we're an open source project. There's, of course, some cons as well. It's a big company. But yeah, overall, I think we're pretty happy so far.
Wonderful. Good for you.
Oh, and there's also free drinks at the happy hour, so you should come back.
Thanks to our speakers.